A clownfish couple, Marlin and Coral, are about to be the parents of 400 unborn children. However, a marauding barracuda attacks their home. Marlin survives, but the barracuda, Coral, and 399 of her eggs are out of sight. However, Marlin sees that the barracuda missed one egg and comes to its aid. He promises that he will never let anything happen to the remaining egg, which he names Nemo, because that was one of Coral's favorite names. 6 years later, Nemo, born with a deformed fin due to damage the egg took during the barracuda attack, begins his first day at school, and is eager to get going. However, his overprotective father Marlin is nervous about letting his son go to school. After Marlin sends Nemo off to class with his teacher Mr. Ray, the stingray, Nemo sneaks away from class with a couple of his friends to see the open water, and in the distance they see a butt. Nemo's classmates start seeing who can get closest to the butt, and Nemo tells them he shouldn't. Marlin shows up and catches him. The two of them argue in front of Nemo's classmates, and Nemo, upset with his father, swims away into the open water. Once he gets to the butt, Nemo is told not to touch it, and Nemo puts his whole good fin on that butt. "Yes sir, we slap butts round here." On his way back, Nemo is captured by a diver, who immediately leaves on a speedboat. Marlin chases after the speedboat but soon loses it. Asking for directions, he meets Dory, a blue tang, that says she knows where the boat went. While following Dory, she begins to think he's chasing her and starts running away from him. When he catches her, she tells him about her short-term memory loss. He realizes she is not going to be much help to him. Immediately after, Marlin and Dory get approached by fish-friendly sharks, who had sworn never to eat a fellow fish, and they adopt Marlin and Dory as buddies. Later, Marlin notices the main clue to Nemo's whereabouts is a mask, but when he and Dory fight over how to read it, it hits her nose, causing a small nosebleed, which Bruce, a shark, accidentally sniffs, causing him to go wild. His shark friends tries to restrain him as the two fish try to escape, but an accidental torpedo launch causes every depth charge nearby to explode, though no one gets killed. Meanwhile, Nemo is placed in a fish tank in a dentist's office. He discovers that he is to be the present of the dentist's niece, Darla, a serial fish killer according to the other fish in the tank. The little brace-faced brat has no idea how to properly care for fish, leading to them quickly dying under her care. After Nemo gets stuck in a filter, Gil, one of the fish in the tank, talks him through getting out. Nemo successfully gets out, which seems to give Gil an idea. Later on, while Marlin and Dory are sleeping, the sub they're on is about to tumble down into the depths, as well as the mask. The two fish follow it down as the darkness overtakes them. Dory's forgetfulness causes her to think Marlin is her conscience before they see a light, but it turns out to be a lure from an anglerfish. That thing is hideous. While trying to get away, Marlin spots the mask. He quickly decides to try and keep the fish busy while Dory tries to read the mask, which directs him to someplace called Sydney. Meanwhile, Nemo is having an initiation to the club of tank fish, and Gil comes up with a plan for all the fish to escape the tank before Darla arrives in 5 days. While they were on their mission to find Nemo, Marlin and Dory stop to have a small talk. Marlin explains to her that he could take it from here by himself. He thinks Dory is only holding him back because of her constant forgetfulness. When Marlin says he doesn't want Dory with him, Dory starts crying and says Marlin doesn't like her. Marlin says that's not the case, but to make things worse, he says it's complicated. A school of moonfish stop by and tells Marlin and Dory to take the East Australian current to Sydney, but advises Dory to go through the trench, not above it. But she forgets. When they get to the trench, Dory wants to go through it, but Marlin's paranoia of the trench has them swim above it, only to find a school of jellyfish. Dory quickly finds out that the top of the jellyfish doesn't sting, so they treat it like a game and race out. But Dory fails to make it, having been stung repeatedly. Marlin manages to get her out before fainting. Back at the dentist office, Nemo and the others are starting their plan to escape. After stopping a filter, Nemo tries to get out through a tube. When the fan starts spinning again, Nemo narrowly escapes, and their plan fails. Marlin later awakes on a turtle named Crush, along with a legion of sea turtles on the East Australian current. When he catches Dory still passed out, he feels bad for leading her over. Instead of through the trench, however, she makes a full recovery. One of the young turtles fall out of the current. When Marlin freaks out, Crush tells him to relax and trusts his son, who quickly makes it back safe. This makes Marlin notice how much freedom the turtles give their children, and starts to feel bad for sheltering Nemo. Marlin then ends up telling the story of him trying to find Nemo, and from there it is told all throughout the ocean among the sea creatures, and eventually, Nemo hears it from Nigel, a brown pelican who occasionally comes to visit the fish in the tank. Upon hearing all of his dad's adventures, Nemo is inspired to attempt to jam the filter again. This time he is successful. After Marlin gets near their destination, they get out of the current. Soon after, they accidentally get swallowed by a whale that was chasing krill. Meanwhile, Gil's plan on getting out of the fish tank is going exactly as they planned, and the tank is becoming filthy. Back inside of the whale, when Marlin fails to break out, after numerous attempts, Dory swims down to him and Marlin tells her the promise he made to Nemo while he was just an egg. Dory tells him, if he never lets anything happen to Nemo, then nothing will ever happen to Nemo. I can't tell if she's spitting facts right now, or just talking gibberish. Marlin then sighs sadly. While inside, Dory talks to the whale, and the whale tells them to fall to the back of his mouth so he can sprout them out. Marlin reluctantly agrees to doing so. Back at the dentist office, at this point in Gil's plan, the dentist would take the fish out of the tank and into small plastic bags. The fish would then roll out the window, onto an awning, across the street, and into the conveniently situated harbor. However, the dentist installed a laser filter which cleans the tank while the fish were sleeping. The dentist then puts Nemo in a bag to give to his niece. At the same time, Marlin and Dory are swallowed by Gerald. Refusing to get eaten so easily, Marlin gets stuck in Gerald's throat, until Nigel arrives and makes Gerald cough them up. Nigel recognizes Marlin when he says he needs to find his son. Nigel agrees to take them to the dentist's office. While they are en route, Nemo gets the idea to pretend to be dead so that the dentist will flush him down the toilet, which will take Nemo to the ocean. Marlin, Dory, and Nigel arrive at the office and are horrified to see Nemo dead. After the dentist kicks Nigel out of the office, Gil saves Nemo from getting thrown in the trash can by jumping on the little demon child's head, then proceeds to help Nemo escape through the dentist's sink. Marlin, depressed, thinking that he broke his promise to never let anything happen to Nemo, decides to go home, leaving Dory behind, even though she begs him not to. Meanwhile, Dory becomes forgetful again until she meets Nemo. When she reads Sydney on a water tube, her entire memory suddenly returns and helps Nemo find Marlin by forcing a crab to tell them where Marlin went. With this information, Marlin and Nemo are reunited. But moments later they find that Dory is caught in a fishing net. Nemo has a plan to save her, but Marlin is reluctant to let him go in fear that he will lose him again. Marlin realizes he must trust him. Nemo and the others get all the fish to swim down, which breaks the crane the net is on and all the fish escape. And Nemo's plan succeeds. They are reunited once again and they apologize to each other for what they've done. After their adventure, Marlin is now not nearly as overprotective of his son, knowing he can look after himself. Dory also spends a lot of time with the two, and she accompanies Marlin as he takes Nemo to school. We also see the fish in the fish tank shown succeeding after a last escape attempt by sabotaging the filter. However, they are still in their plastic bags, floating in the water. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel.